Hey everyone, it's me Lone, hope you're all going well, and this was a video that I was bound to make on my channel at some stage, namely talking about the state of Fallout 76, especially after the release of the latest update. I know that I have a lot of biases towards Fallout 76 and I'll cover that in a second, but I just want to try and give the game as fair of a shake as I can, talk about what's good about it right now, what's not so good about it right now, and all that kind of stuff. So if you enjoy this video, please like it, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new, with notifications if that's possible. But with that out of the way, let's get to the content. Alrighty, so the state of Fallout 76, and as I said, it's going to be very important for me to cover what my biases are towards the game at the beginning, because they matter when it comes to a topic like this, and ultimately, no matter how hard I try, I can't strip those biases away. They are going to somewhat cloud my judgment and my opinion about 76, so all I can really do is put all my cards on the table, let you know where I'm coming from, and still try to be as objective as I can be. So when it comes to 76, the game has given me a lot in life, in two major regards really. Number one, when it comes to my YouTube channel, it really brought my channel back from the dead. Prior to 76 being announced, my videos weren't getting that many views because I made some drastic changes at the time. My channel was losing subscribers for a very long time. And then the game was announced, I started covering it because I was interested in it. And for the first time in a long time, my videos were getting views again. My channel was actually growing again. So it brought my channel back from the dead essentially. And then, as some of you may know, it actually helped me reach 100,000 subscribers on the channel. But then when it comes to my job at Bethesda, 76 was squarely the reason I was hired at Bethesda in the first place. So I was hired a few months before launch, and that was when the local team in Australia and New Zealand were trying to bolster the team and grow it a little bit to ensure they were ready for the launch of 76 in that year in 2018. And they looked at my background, they looked at my history with YouTube and my history with Fallout and just kind of my skill set and whatnot, and they hired me for that reason, to help with the launch of Fallout 76. So not only did this game help me reach 100k subs and bring my channel back to life, but it actually landed me my dream job. So I have a lot of positive memories and fond memories of 76. They're not all, sunshine and rainbows, but for the most part, I have a lot to thank this game for, and I have good memories of the game. But with that being said, as I said, I want to try and be as fair as possible when it comes to talking about the state of Fallout 76. So on that topic, I do believe it's important to split the discussion up into two areas. Number one, I think you need to talk about the game when it comes to new to early or mid-game players, essentially people that haven't finished all the game has to offer yet. In that area, we're not going to be talking about the pace at which content has been released. Let me make that very clear. All we're talking about is, as a standalone package, 3 years or so after launch, if you're coming into 76 now, what kind of game can it be? Is it good and does it have good value? And then we have to talk about the game when it comes to the endgame player. And this is, I'm very well in this category. We're talking about the endgame player that has finished absolutely everything the game has to offer and is engaged in that grind of 76 to a significant extent. We need to talk about the game when it comes to that kind of player, because that's when the question ultimately of content and the lack or the slow release of content does come up. So let's approach the discussion in those two regards. So when it comes to new players, first of all, as a new player, you still need to vibe with the content of 76. It's not like past Fallout games. If you are just a player that simply doesn't like 76, you don't like the style of content, you don't like the questing, you especially don't like the original content in the game that was NPC-less for the most part, and you don't really care about playing Fallout with friends, if you just don't get and don't enjoy the content of 76 and the style of game that it is, you're never going to like the game. And that's, completely understandable, 100% understandable. You don't have to like every game that's out there, right? And if that's for you for 76, that's probably never going to change, okay? But there is a portion of people, and a decent portion at that actually do enjoy the kind of content in 76. They vibe with it, they just, they get it to some extent, they like playing Fallout with friends, and they like that grind of 76. There has to be an extent of that when it comes to 76. That's just the kind of game that it is. But there is a decent group of people out there at some stage in the past 3 years that have really enjoyed playing 76. So when it comes to that group of people, and if you eventually would fit into that group of people as a new player, right now as a standalone package, 76 does have value. There is a decent package there. There is content there for you as a new player, and you ultimately probably will have a lot of fun, again, if you vibe with the content. 76 has come leaps and bounds since launch. It is not perfect by any means, and I'm going to cover that in the second part of this video, but it has come very far since launch. In particular, when it comes to content as a standalone package, there is much more to do in the game now as opposed to there was at launch. You have, of course, the base content. It's not for everyone, as I said, because there's no NPCs and it's a lot of audio logs and going to different locations, but you still have the base content. You have Wastelanders and all the quest lines that has to offer, and also all the rare plans and items that you can get with gold bullion, and then you can start to engage in the grind with that. You have Still Rain and Still Dawn, which individually at the time probably weren't the longest quests in the world, but if you're coming into it right now not having played them, they're a decent chunk of content that you can finish. And then you have all the seasonal content that's been released over the years that you can still engage with once they're released as part of a seasonal event. You have a season to come into. You've missed a lot of seasons so far, of course, but you're always going to have a season to engage with in 76. So there's a bunch of stuff like that, new weapons, new skins, new mods, all that kind of stuff that, again, coming into it as a new player, if you vibe with the content, you are going to find a lot of value in 76, especially because the game is frequently on sale, so it's not selling at full price, and it's also on Game Pass. So there's very little risk nowadays compared to at launch for getting into 76 and for trying it out. Again, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but if it is for you, there's a decent amount of content, and you're going to easily spend tens if not hundreds of hours in the game, because that's what a lot of endgame players have done. They've spent literally hundreds if not thousands of hours in 76. So again, for new players, if you're coming in and you vibe with the content, there is value there and it's a good game. Like, if you actually look at the rating of 76 on Steam right now, it's mostly positive, both for recent reviews and also all reviews. That just doesn't happen because of sheer luck, right? That happens for a reason. Clearly, there is a portion of the community that enjoys playing this game and has enjoyed playing this game at some stage or another. That might not reflect their current opinion of 76, but ultimately at some stage they have played it, and a lot of those people gave a positive review on Steam. So there is that. So I think there is a level that people need to appreciate where 76 has come from launch. It has come far. It isn't perfect, as I said, but for a certain type of player, it can be a very enjoyable experience and give you a lot of content in that regard. But then we need to cover the topic about 76 when it comes to endgame players. When it comes to people that have finished everything, you have completed the base content and all the side quests. You've completed Wastelanders, you've got all the gold bullion that you want and got all the rare items and plans that you want to. You've completed Still Rain and Still Dawn. You've done literally every season and gotten every reward as part of that. You've participated and got the rewards for most of the seasonal events. You've engaged in that endgame grind a lot, got all the rare items and plans that you want. You've specced out your build to the extent that you want. You've upgraded all your legendary perk cards. You've done all of that stuff, and you know what I'm talking about, right? There's a lot of that stuff when it comes to 76. But if you're an endgame player, you've done all of that. At that stage, it's completely fair to say that there is not enough new content in 76 right now, and that the pace at which content is released has become very slow and seemingly is becoming slower. It is a completely fair and valid criticism to levy at the game at that stage. And again, I'm very much in that stage. I've spent hundreds of hours in the game, and I had to give it a break for the past 3 months because there wasn't really much new for me to do. And it's a fair question at that stage to ask, well, what's next? Like, if I've done everything the game has to offer, there's only so much that I can log in every day or every week to do very similar challenges, very similar dailies and very similar weeklies to progress on the scoreboard to get those rewards. Like, it doesn't matter how good that end game grind might be. It doesn't matter how good that loot might be. No matter what game it is, eventually, if it's the same kind of content and it doesn't really change, it's going to become stale. It's going to become a little bit boring, and you want to try and do something different. So when you actually talk to endgame players that say, I'm kind of tired with the game, a little bit bored with the game, I don't know what to do, typically the advice given to those players is just take a break for a few months. And when it comes to a live service game, that's not what you really want to hear. You want to be able to hear that, no, the game is continuously being supported. There's always new stuff to do and new things to do. And yes, we are still getting new updates, and I want to talk about the recent update. We're getting new updates, we're getting quality of life improvements, we're getting things fixed. Again, there's still a fair few bugs in the game, but there are still updates coming to the game. They're just probably not happening at the pace to which people are kind of content with, especially if they're spending money on Fallout First and also Atoms. And a lot of the new content added recently, they're seasonal events, like the Night of the Moth or the Alien event that's happening right now. Those seasonal events are temporary. So while we definitely needed them because we did Fashnaut Day and those other seasonal events, again and again and again, sometimes multiple times in a year. So while we did need those temporary seasonal events, still when they go away, the game kind of goes back to its core base grind. And when you've done that and when you've engaged in that for tens if not hundreds of hours, you're kind of asking, I want to do something a little bit different. Where is that content coming? And really the next big content that is coming for the game is the Pit. And now we know that the Pit is coming later this year. So until then, it's hard to as an endgame player to find that motivation and that desire to play 76 maybe like you used to in the past. And again, I think it comes down to there not being enough new content and there being a slow pace of released content for 76. So this is not disregarding that, at some stage you had really a lot of fun with 76. It's also not disregarding that new players right now still getting through that content, that they're also having a lot of fun, right? It's just appreciating that after all the time that you put into the game and after completing everything that it has to offer, that you have nothing left to do. And at that stage, you kind of have to take a break for 2 months or 3 months or whatever until something new comes along. And then if it does come along, like the recent update, and it doesn't exactly vibe with you and you think there should have been more, then it becomes harder and harder to log in every day and every week or even every month. So I think that's as fair of a shake as I can give to 76. For new players, there is absolutely value if the game is for you. But for endgame players, if you finished everything, the game does have a lack of content. And of course, that's not mentioning there's a bunch of bugs that since launch or since early in the game, that haven't been fixed. One example, I don't believe it's been fixed, is the flamer bug, where when you get into the game, you have to change the mod to be able to get the proper range on it. Bugs like that, for instance, I know frustrate endgame players and hardcore players. I'm still going to say though that new content is much more important than fixing those bugs. They should not be prioritized to the detriment of that new content. That really does need to be the focus if 76 wants to be able to go to that next level and increase its audience base and its community. So that's what I think about the state of Fallout 76. Let me know what you think, and let's get to the conclusion of this video. Alrighty, Wastelanders, that is all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, this has been Lone. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.